welcome to all of you for being to this meeting, and thank you for making the time. We, of course, in 2020, and I will not be giving you a report, but just to say we ended 2019 in many ways on a high note, despite the many challenges that we faced last year. If you remember, 2019 is the year that we experienced the passing brutal murder of Uyinene, and thereafter about 4 deaths of students in one faculty. So towards the end of the year, it was a difficult year in August, September, but we ended it well despite that disappointment. We ended it with the university leading Africa in all 5 major international rankings. And that's a good place to end. Not that we as a university just do work to be on the rankings. We actually don't have a strategy just to be on the rankings. Our focus is to do excellent work in our core business, which is the academic work, and everything else that supports it.
I'm talking about realizing our vision for transformation because in a way this is an ongoing vision for the university, is that we want to have a different ethos at the university. I don't necessarily want you to read through the whole paragraph, or I'm not going to read it for you, you can read it. But people often ask, so what do we mean by transformation? And of course for us it's about looking at the ethos and the identity of the university and asking ourselves, is this a university where everybody feels a sense of belonging? And so that means we have to look not only at the numbers and the profiles of students and staff, the demographics, but we also have to look at the extent to which the space and the place that we inhabit actually reflect the multiplicity of cultures that we are in this country, and to what extent in our relationships we have with each other, is there discrimination, is there harassment? And so those are the multiple issues that we address in transformation. So it means we have to have an inclusive teaching and learning environment, and especially with our research, we want to ensure that we have an engaged focus on our research. And then as I said, we want to ensure that we are a university where we address discrimination and harassment. So that's the context within which we work, but I wanted to just highlight a few of the areas that are areas where we feel we are making progress over the last 3 years. If you look at our student demographic profile, you'll see that we have a diverse student population. And that's a diverse population that we want to ensure that they have a student experience that will allow them to focus on their academics. And when you are struggling to get funding, when you are thinking about where am I going to sleep tonight, if you are stressed about not having accommodation, not having food, then it affects not only your experience of UCT, but actually your ability to succeed. And so a lot of the work that we've been doing over the last couple of years have been to ensure that. So we spend a lot of money on financial aid. You'll see there 1.2 billion was made available for student financial aid. So in other words, we ensure that students that do not have the ability to pay fees are supported, whether it's through linking them up through NSFAS or through our own UCT budget. We provide funding for both undergrad and postgraduate students, as well as the so-called missing middle students, students whose family income is between 350 and 600,000 a year.
As you know, the enterprise of alumni relations is much more than sending out the odd email. It's about knowing who our alumni are, where they are located, what their areas of expertise and interest are, and forging relationships with them, finding out how they would like to engage with UCT and what they would like to offer UCT in terms of time, treasure, or expertise. And building on last year's theme, which was for me connecting, reconnecting, and reaching out to our diverse alumni, during 2019, the AAB and the Alumni Relations Office have focused on strengthening relationships with existing active alumni whilst reaching out to historically disengaged, predominantly black alumni who for the most part sadly had negative experiences of their time at UCT. This engagement doesn't happen of its own accord. It requires committed volunteers and staff, appropriate investment of resources to support the widest possible engagement with alumni. I want to acknowledge that many of these engagements were made possible through the alumni relations team's enthusiastic and skillful, I have to say, sponsorship efforts. So they didn't actually act as a drain on the purse of UCT. And again, I think that's something which people don't always acknowledge or maybe don't even know.
I want to just agree with you and Chris to welcome people to become more involved, but to realize it is going to take some time and a bit of commitment, and even living in Cape Town helps, because it has been the case we've had people on committees and then they get scattered around South Africa, all over Africa and far afield, and it's more difficult to then engage. And so there is, and also to have a sense of service, having a sense of wanting to contribute, not sort of coming and saying, well, I've got clever ideas as to how UCT should be run, and I'm going to tell UCT how to run the UCT, but rather to say, how can I be a contribution, how can I make a difference, and that kind of idea. And then it becomes more fun as one is engaged, as opposed to an intellectual debate. One is actually engaging with people and being involved.
Thank you very much. Any other comments, questions? Well, I think it really remains for me to say thank you all very much for coming out on this wonderful evening and joining us and participating. Do stay in touch. I do usually respond to emails, so very happy to have suggestions, comments, and if anyone would like to be more involved, and I think there's been a special plea from the Cape Town chapter, we will funnel through those willing volunteers through to Chris. I think that really just thank you so much and have a wonderful rest of the day and a wonderful weekend. Thank you.